So word on the streets is that we're potentially on the verge of a missing episode recovery. Huge if true. Of course, rumours of lost episodes returning have been stringing us along for years, but if there is something coming, then it'll be a net win for the archive no matter how you slice it. Whether it's a full episode, an excerpt, or a mere still image, any recovery is a good thing. That said, I know not to let myself get too carried away with optimism. If there are recoveries to come, I imagine the chances of them being the ideal scenario where we gain another fully complete set for a 6 or 7-parter are relatively low, though of course you never know what to expect. But that brings me to today's topic. Which missing episodes do I personally want to see the most?
All of them.
Now, before anyone jumps down my throat for playing favourites with lost media or whatever, remember, I said any recovery is a good thing. Every single missing episode should be restored. There's just some I'm more eager to see than others because I'm a die-hard fan with my own preferences which I based off of the surviving material, okay? So I'm gonna answer this question in the form of an unranked top 10 because it's YouTube and people like lists. I'm not really gonna take the potential likelihood of each recovery into account, nor really whether the episode's been animated for the most part. This is pure manifesting, I guess. And also, I'm gonna give myself one self-imposed restriction, to narrow my selections down to just one single individual episode from each of these missing serials. Why? Because it's gonna make this list spicy and interesting, and I'm just out here having fun. I say that as if this isn't gonna have some painful decisions in store for me. Oh well, shall we get into it? The Evil of the Daleks is among the most famous and celebrated Lost serials, and quite rightly so in my book. Yes, narratively speaking, it's not exactly airtight, some of its plot points are a little frayed at the edges, but it more than makes up for that by being among the most compelling insights into the Doctor's relationship with the Daleks as well as their respective manipulative streaks, not to mention providing Jamie with one of his strongest outings as a character. But of course, while the earlier episodes are appealing in their own right for the classy Victoriana atmosphere, it's the final 2 parts and the shift to Skaro where this conflict hits its apex. I could honestly understand an argument in favour of either of these installments, especially since episode 6 gives us the Dizzy Daleks, the Dalek Emperor's introduction, and the penny drop about the Dalek factor, but from where I'm standing, the final installment more than clinches it for me. It has the chaos of the human factor on Skaro, the culmination of Maxtable's descent into madness, the pathos surrounding Victoria and her orphanage, the resolution to Jamie's trust issues with the Doctor, and of course, the final end of the Daleks, at least at the time. For me, this is easily one of the most vital episodes that could be recovered, and the telesnaps and other surviving material are so enticing, with Derek Martinus's direction looking absolutely superb just from still frames. So yes, The Evil of the Daleks. Ideally all of it, but for the purposes of this challenge, part 7. Okay, so let's get this obvious one out of the way. We were so damn close to having the entirety of the Web of Fear back with us. Don't get me wrong, I am forever grateful that as much of it has been recovered as it has. As a story, it's one of my personal all-time greats, featuring a phenomenal cast complemented by razor-sharp character writing, hot sexy Yeti action, an enticingly spooky atmosphere, and a compelling personal conflict for the Doctor to face. And even back when only the first episode was known to exist, it was plainly obvious that it was one of the best directed, most immersive serials of the entire classic series, courtesy of one of the show's all-time great directors, Douglas Camfield. So the fact that we were blessed with the restoration of almost all of it is something that still makes me giddy with excitement to this day. But oh, the lament of that poor lost 3rd episode. Knowing that it was literally right there with those other installments, destined to be returned alongside them, only for it to slip through the cracks and disappear into the night to an unknown fate. The very same episode that first introduces us to the man himself, Lethbridge Stewart, and crucially develops the whodunit aspect to this Yeti conflict. Knowing how close we were to having an additional Troughton serial fully complete in the archive when so few of them are. Oh man, it's pretty excruciating. I know there isn't really any decision making to this choice, I'm just pining hard for the one solitary gap in an otherwise complete story, but still, it is what it is. So now it's time to give Marco Polo its flowers. One of the juiciest historical adventures Doctor Who has ever done, where the Doctor and friends embark on an endlessly compelling slow burn trek to Peking with the titular explorer's caravan. With a script abound in utterly lovely simmering characterization and immersive culture, and the surviving telesnaps and on-set photographs showcasing a beautifully realised production, it's one that I'm on my knees begging to watch in its entirety. The fact that we don't even have so much as a single second of surviving footage? Absolutely criminal, but we're sticking to the hypothetical, gotta pick just one installment for this list. And there's so many great reasons for all of them. Episode 7, for instance, calls to me for its climactic sword fight between Marco and Tigana and the serial's thoughtful ending note. And there's also the tense second episode with Susan and Ping Cho stranded in the sandstorm and Tigana sabotaging the water girds. All great choices, but ultimately, in my heart of hearts, I gotta go with the opener. It's truly one of the best and most successful introductory episodes to any Doctor Who serial, painting an atmospheric picture of the Himalayas, expertly establishing the characters of Marco's caravan and their journey across Cathay, and kicking off the wider interpersonal conflict as Marco claims the TARDIS from the Doctor. It's one of my favourites, and if this one got dug out of someone's attic one day, I would only clap and cheer. Choosing just one episode to prioritise from the power of the Daleks is a painful exercise, as it's one of the most important stories in the show's history, and I naturally desire my favourite Doctor's debut to be restored in its totality. It so skillfully balances the responsibility of selling this new take on the Doctor with exploring the Daleks' ruthlessly cunning psychology, all in a 6-part script teeming with iconic moments. From the captivating intrigue of the post-regeneration scene in the opener, to the sequence of mounting dread in the 4th as Lesterson discovers the Daleks' production line, to their widespread massacre throughout the colony in the finale. Original footage, I want it all, honey. And I can tell from the surviving clips, telesnaps, and Christopher Barry's other surviving directorial work that it looked absolutely delicious. But since we're putting a gun to my head and forcing me to pick just one episode out of the 6, I'm going for part 2. Fitting for the second Doctor. It's essentially a microcosm of everything that makes the serial so phenomenal. This new Doctor's grave concern about the unearthed Daleks melting through his elusive post-regenerative behaviour, Ben and Polly beginning to give him the benefit of the doubt, Lesterson's naive, dread-inducing scientific curiosity, the compelling supporting cast, the bone-chillingly silent spectating of the reactivated Dalek as it plots its manipulative strategy, and of course that absolutely iconic cliffhanger.
Your servant! I am your servant!
Yeah, I want to see all of that for real, man. My list wouldn't be complete without the Daleks' master plan, another one of my favourite stories. Again, it may not be the most cohesive tale Doctor Who has ever told, but it has an abundance of highlights, profound apocalyptic stakes, and exquisite world building and characters. And with Douglas Camfield in the director's seat, it's naturally one of the most striking visual offerings of the show's early years. Or at least what survives of it is. Yeah, with many of its lost segments lacking in really any surviving material, I'm certainly eager for another recovery from this grandiose epic, even if the chances of that are very slim. But we're certainly spoiled for choice, from the atmospheric opening installment in the hostile jungle of Kemble, to the dramatic 4th part which sees the impactful deaths of 2 important characters, to the infamous Christmas outing which has the lowest chance of recovery of any missing episode. All are worthy options, no doubt, but for my money, the episode I most yearn to see is the grand finale. Even going just by the audio, it's up there as one of the heaviest, most doom-laden individual episodes in the entire show, with the culmination of Mavic Chen's spiral into insanity and the breakdown of his alliance with the Daleks, and the sheer adrenaline-pumping intensity as the Time Destructor is activated and lays waste to Kemble, wiping out the Daleks, horrifically killing Sarah Kingdom, and damn near killing the Doctor too. It's an all-timer highlight for me, and I would love to see it properly. On the subject of things that don't exist, we come to the Macra Terror, a quintessential Second Doctor story that sees him spearhead a rebellion against the brainwashing of a colony by some giant parasitic crabs. It's a serial that always piqued my curiosity long before I even watched the reconstructions, with its telesnap collection beckoning to me from the homepage of the old classic series website. 62 often had something of a shadowy claustrophobia to it, and these stills are among the most visceral impressions of that for me. Yes, I know production of this story was notoriously troubled by how cumbersome the macro prop was to work with, but that still doesn't quell my enthusiasm for the hypothetical recovery of the original footage. Besides, in this thought experiment I wouldn't see much of it anyway, because out of these 4 episodes, the first part is where it appears least, and coincidentally, it's also the one I'm selecting. What can I say? I love me some classic Who world building, and the opener to the Macra Terror provides that in spades, as it paints a vivid picture of this brainwashed colony. From the pilot's over-enthusiastic hospitality, to the chipper chromophone band, to Maddox's uphill struggle against the pressure to conform, to the controller's impassive face. And the Doctor himself is on top form with his underhanded investigative resistance, not to mention the fabled rough and tumble scene. The telesnaps suggest that the direction complemented all of this wonderfully, and it'd be swell to confirm that with its return to the archive. When it comes to Fury from the Deep, well, I could just gush about it for hours. I adore the setting, the Lovecraftian premise and how it unfolds, the unforgivingly bleak tone, the stellar supporting characters, the writing for our leads, the chilling cliffhangers. I could go on. As far as I'm concerned, its only significant drawback is the fact that, so far, not a single one of its episodes has resurfaced since the original broadcast. And in a perfect world, all 6 would turn up and be lovingly restored so DVD copies of it could adorn each and every one of our shelves. But this challenge concerns selecting one episode, and in that case, I gotta go with the final part. This serial has such an addictively murky, tense, anxiety-inducing atmosphere, and that all comes to a head towards the end with the Doctor and friends' escape from the oil rig aboard the helicopter and the desperate sense of escalation in the build-up to the climactic battle against the seaweed creature in the gas refinery. The surviving alternate takes of this battle are a fascinating watch, giving us a tantalizing taste of what we're missing out on, and the cinematography from both that and the surviving telesnap seems superb. But of course, the cherry on top of all of this is the departure for Victoria. It's genuinely one of the most compelling and well done exits for a character in the entire show, closing her journey out on a beautifully bittersweet note, and while still incredibly moving even through just the audio format, seeing it in its true original form would be a treat. It's wonderful stuff. My selection has naturally been quite Second Doctor heavy, but that doesn't mean I'm not eager for missing First Doctor material to be restored too. And just like the previously mentioned Marco Polo, the pure historical tale The Massacre is absolutely begging for it. Not only is there no surviving footage, but not even so much as a single existing telesnap. All we have to go on for this story's visuals are the production photos, which showcase some excellent costuming and set design, but naturally they can't fully convey how well Paddy Russell's directorial approach complemented this script. As for which of its 4 episodes I'd opt most strongly for here, I mean, I could understand an argument in favour of any of the first 3, what with the appearance of the Abbot being something of a curiosity, but yeah, unsurprising answer here. Ultimately, the final part is what piques my interest most intensely. The Massacre is a fairly strong script overall, with a profoundly oppressive and dour tone persisting throughout, as well as being one of the finest, if not the finest, outing for Stephen, and all of that crescendos in a devastatingly harrowing climax as the massacre begins, followed by Stephen's bitter outburst at the Doctor after their escape in the TARDIS. One of the finest pieces of character drama in the show's history, especially when the Doctor is left alone and introspectively ponders on his travels and apparent solitude. I yearn to see the physicality and directorial approach of all of this, even with the limp-ass dodo scene. So I imagine this may be something of a curveball to some of you watching. For as popular of a story as it is, the invasion doesn't exactly tend to be a high priority for many people in the discussion of missing episodes broadly speaking, because compared to so many others, its archival status is nowhere near as dire. So much of it already survived the junking period to begin with, and what little didn't was expertly recreated by the 2006 animation, which lent the absent installments a distinctive gloomy aesthetic that meshed super well with the surviving episodes. Still, despite that, I confess that I'm still deeply invested in wanting to see how both of these episodes looked originally, especially with Douglas Camfield directing. Episode 1 is naturally the more slow-paced, conspiratorial introductory piece, which is a tempting option in its own way, but ultimately the reason why the invasion is on this list is for part 4. I mean, it features that entire escape sequence of the Doctor and Jamie freeing Zoe and Isabel from captivity in Vaughn's compound, with the four of them climbing up the ladder to the unit helicopter on top of the building under a hailstorm of gunfire from Vaughn's guards. That just clinches it for me, man. Like I said, the animation does do it justice for sure, but I still really want to see how that looked for real under Camfield's original directorial vision. Plus, if the Web of Fear is complete in this scenario, then it only makes sense to me to secure the one other missing episode that features Lethbridge Stewart. And to close out this list, let's talk about The Abominable Snowmen. I dare say one of the serial's most desperately in need of more recoveries, as so much of it rides on its meditative atmosphere and scenery, making it tough to digest when 5/6 of it can't actually be watched. But it's one that's really grown on me over the years, and personally, I find it to have some of the most captivating surviving material. Telesnaps can evoke something of a tip-of-your-tongue feeling, where you can almost sense the next frame just out of reach, and The Abominable Snowmen is interestingly where I get that sensation most strongly. I find myself just staring at these images and willing for the picture to just start moving. Maybe I have a problem. As for which episode I'm crowning as my MVP here, I'm tempted by the Doctor's serene pilgrimage to the monastery in the opener, or the fourth part, which has a lot of location-based Yeti action with the Doctor and Jamie, or the Battle of Wills against the Great Intelligence in the closing part. But honestly, the episode I gravitate to the most is the fifth. I love the character conflict, as the Intelligence weaponizes Victoria by hypnotizing her into a state of heightened anxiety, with the Doctor having to reprogram her, and the Doctor's meeting with his tormented friend Padmasambhavar is genuinely really haunting. I think the telesnaps are what sell this choice for me, showcasing some notably intimate direction that appears to complement these moments so well, and I wish I could see more. So that makes 10 episodes, but you know what? I'm gonna be generous and I'm gonna chuck in some honourable mentions. The 10th Planet, Episode 4. A popular choice, and similar to The Web of Fear in being the only absent segment from an otherwise complete serial, while also containing an important narrative event for the show, in this case the first regeneration. Thankfully, the regeneration scene exists, but having the first Doctor's final episode in its entirety would be a godsend. The Highlanders, Episode 4, most famous for being the episode where Jamie joins the Doctor on his time-travelling adventures. Kind of a natural pick just for that factor alone, but even beyond that, it's a fun episode in its own right, with the Doctor and friends helping some Highlanders overthrow their redcoat captors on a ship. That'd be cool to experience properly. The Celestial Toymaker Episode 1. From a serial that already relies so heavily on its on-screen action, the first part is the hardest hit by the loss of footage in my opinion. Stephen and Dodo's obstacle course against the clowns is basically impossible to follow without a running commentary, so fishing it out of whatever basement it's hiding in would be swell. The Wheel in Space Episode 1. I'm adamant that The Wheel in Space, while hardly stellar, is a more dynamic serial than people give it credit for, and with the opener being a slow burn two-hander where the Doctor and Jamie are stranded on a rocket and simmer in character drama while fending off a little robot, well, I just think it's neat. And The Crusade Episode 2, the episode where Ian gets knighted. That's a cool moment. So that concludes this list. Drop your own in the comments if you're so inclined, and if there are any recoveries to come, I guess we'll see if I foreshadowed any of them. Toodles!